So how do I begin to define what success means to me in my world of work?
This is such an important question and such an under-asked question. How do I define what success looks and feels like in my work? And it's funny because we're always being told what success is supposed to be, whether it's social media or our parents or our bosses or, our partners, they've all got a view about what a successful life looks and feels like and what we should be aiming for. And a lot of the time it's about symbols. So it's about money or power or jewelry or flashy cars or whatever. But actually from decades now of career coaching, I find that isn't the whole picture for people. When you ask them, how do you define a successful and fulfilling life for you as an individual? People talk more about things like giving back and being useful and valuable, and nurturing and growing other people and seeing the results of their work in that way, generating a result that's tangible and visible and useful to people, whether that's a book or a space or a beautiful piece of art or a wonderful piece of food, and things like being known and recognised for being good at what you do and being trusted as a person who gives valuable and helpful advice in that space. Those tend to be the kind of 4 key areas that people use to define success.
And I think what's really important as well is to, when you've kind of started to get an idea of, so I might say through my coaching, I want people to experience better versions of themselves, if you like, and push themselves. Mm-hmm. What you want to be thinking about is, how am I going to measure that? How am I going to know? So what are the sort of measures by which I can keep score of whether I'm achieving that success that I've defined? So do spend some time thinking about what those measures are. So for me, it might be, of 20 people I coach, making sure that I've got some feedback from 15, a percentage of from 15 of them. It may be when it comes to us delivering workshops that I'm getting feedback from about the impact and what would make it better next time. So I've got ways of measuring that. And of course, in some topics and industries that you care deeply about, the measures might be a little bit easier to track. So if you're in a sales environment, it might be more driven by the numbers of sales or referrals you make for somebody. So just think about the way of keeping score, because that's going to help you recognize that you're achieving that clarification of success that you've set out.
Yeah, and really take the time as well to think about, what is it for me? What is the kind of quiet voice inside of myself that says, actually, I really feel special, remarkable, like I've done something useful when this happens, or when I see this in the world, or when this comes back to me, or I receive this kind of recognition. And it's useful not just for your own insight, but for those around who want to nurture and grow you, because the more that your mentors, managers, colleagues can understand what makes you tick and what really makes you feel like, hey, that was time well spent, the more they can give you opportunities to do more of that work. And we know that when it comes to satisfaction, fulfillment and engagement in work, it's all about more opportunities to do what I do best, more opportunities to do the things that matter to me, more opportunities to do the things that energize me. So the more specific you can be about how you are measuring things, the more possible it becomes to have the opportunity to do those things that you want to measure and track.
And it helps you tell stories as well. So when you're telling stories about a transferable skill that you're, particularly if you're in an interview situation, being able to complete the picture of saying why you do it, the passion you have for it, but also then the impact of that work means that you can complete the picture of what I love doing and why I like doing and the difference it's making to me personally, but also to those around me as well. And that's really helpful. And I think one other thing I would sort of prompt you to think about when this idea of success and defining it is that it will change over time. So doing this exercise regularly is super important, because what mattered to us when we were in our 20s, a couple of years ago, Erica, is vastly different to what matters to us now. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And consider as well the different levels of involvement with others. So you might have a definition of success that's like specific just to you. For example, making my family proud, or being an award-winning X, Y, and Z. But then also consider perhaps there's something that happens in the company of others. So like being part of a successful team that made X, Y, and Z that you couldn't do on your own. And then maybe there's something even larger, like, I don't know, influencing the the landscape or the sustainability agenda, or producing a record-breaking album or whatever that changes people's lives, like something that kind of couldn't possibly be done by just one person, but is part of a sort of systemic puzzle that you're part of. So consider both. What are the ages and stages, and reflect regularly, because you will change your view, and as you accomplish things as well, that those things will become less important, and you'll have new sets of success. But also think about it from like me, us, and the world, and that might also give you some really useful insight. So drop it in the chat, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Brilliant.